we spent, even after we did our initial launch of Auto 2D, there were so many refinements we made, and we will apply for a patent on our technology, and we defined the process. And because there's so many human touch points, it took a while to figure things out. And now we are at a point where we can scale across industries, across engineering domains. So when I say engineering domain, I'm talking about the fact that we got started with body assembly tooling, and OEMs in the automotive space are asking us if we can do this for their structural components, their propulsion system components, where the plastic parts that go into the cars, the chassis components, including all the suspension components, the brake systems, and so on. And the answer is absolutely yes. And these different systems that I describe as subsystems have very different functions. The braking system has a very different function than, let's say, an axle that's transmitting torque to the wheels. So they have very different functions. But people ask me, okay, the functional characteristics of these systems are so vastly different. How can you claim to be able to generate engineering drawings automatically for so many different types of systems? The answer itself is actually quite simple. Our software is really not concerned with what the ultimate functional requirements of the system are. It really doesn't. All we care about is whether it's a part that's gone into an HVAC system or a braking system or a fuselage system. There are only, we don't care about the function of the parts. All we really care about is what are the manufacturing processes that will be physically used to create the features, the geometric features that are represented in the parts. And there are literally a handful, or maybe 10 or dozen manufacturing processes that are used to create any kind of mechanical part. You start with, say, a block of steel, and you're going to cut that to a certain profile. Keep in mind that AI is really useful when you don't need a precise answer, where there's only one answer that's possible. So if you're trying to predict the weather, and if you predict using AI that tomorrow's high temp is going to be 69 and actually ends up being 70.5,
you can correct it.
It's not a big deal. It's okay.
Yes.
Look, we're not going to get upset with you, but for drawing generation, there's only one correct answer. So AI as a whole is not a good application, but machine learning is a subset of AI, which can produce a lot more precise answers. And even with machine learning, there can be a certain percentage of errors, which is far fewer than the human errors that we get. But with continuing to refine our machine learning models, we can even fine-tune those errors out. And another key point in our process is, after our software generates the drawings, Vectra still has a manual QC team that quickly looks through the drawings. They don't find a lot of errors, but when they do, they fix those drawings manually and give them to the customer, so the customer gets drawings back in a day or two at the most, because our software takes about 8 hours to generate overnight, and then our QC team takes over. So ever since we instituted this process, our customers who used to send us checker markups on a daily basis when we were a design service company, they don't send us checker markups anymore. Not to imply that our drawings are 100% perfect at their end, but it's a realization of our customers that these, whatever errors that remain in the drawings are so minuscule, it's faster for them to just fix it and be done with it, as opposed to send it back to us and have us fix it, which is going to take another day or so.
One thing for me is, I'm automating a space. I'm automating lawn mowing. Very simple. Nothing nearly as complex as what you're doing, right? But I can't tell you how many hate messages I get from people that are unwilling to accept and adapt. And the one thing, and I mean, I might get myself into a little bit of hot water for saying this, but I'm going to say it because, well, it's my podcast and I'll say it. If they don't like it, they can stop. But, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of Americans right now that they don't realize the most valuable thing we have is actually what's right up here in right?
Yep.
So they for some reason, I don't know if it's in our school system, I don't know what it is, but they don't have an ability to form their own thought and actually accept change. They just want it to be the way that it is. This is the way that it was. This is the way that it's been. This is the way it has to be. But we don't progress when we do that, right? So one of the things I'm always trying to talk about is we can keep mowing grass with people forever. First of all, I don't even know why we have such a love affair with our lawns. I mean, I'm a landscape company. I make a lot of money off the love affair of lawns, right? But at the end of the day, the consumer is what keeps that cost value down, right? You said you worked at GL, okay? I work for major corporations myself, and those corporations see lawn mowing as an expense that if they couldn't have it, they wouldn't have it. So they want that as low as possible, which means nobody's ever going to make more than $16 to $20 an hour in that space.
Correct.
Which means they're going to live in poverty forever. But then when I'm over here trying to automate that space, people are sending me hate messages saying that a guy like me is going to cripple our economy. And I'm saying, absolutely not. This is not the case. This would be like saying that the people that used to take the little plug when you dial a rotary phone and plug it in, that those people were going to support our economy.
To be specific, we are a software as a service company, so our software is priced on a monthly subscription model, which is the amount of the monthly subscription is based on each customer's forecast of their manual engineering drawing workload for the next 12 months. And we also monitor the actual usage because, setting a subscription level based on a forecast is not always smart because they can overuse or they could underuse our software. So we make adjustments to the monthly subscription as we go along so that the head of engineering is never in a situation where he has to go explain to his CFO that he wrote this check over the months for Vectra and he didn't use all that. So we make adjustments for the next contract period so that they recoup whatever they paid in the first period in the second period. So where we got started off was with the tooling integrators for the automotive industry. That's where we got started. Where we are focusing on going forward is on the really large companies. So the companies we've been working with have revenues in the range of $1 billion per year. We are now going after companies which have revenues typically more than $10 to $20 billion, going after companies in the automotive sector, all the automakers, they're large tier 1 suppliers, but we are not at all limited to the automotive sector. Any company that is in the business of manufacturing mechanical systems is going to benefit from Auto Duty. It could be a company that makes parts that go into cars, or the OEM that makes the entire car and assembles everything together. That could be in the aerospace or defense sector, as a company making wing systems or aircraft engines or seating systems for aircraft, the fuselage systems. It could be anything that's mechanical in nature.